Imagine this. You're standing at a long-abandoned airport. From a distance, you see a massive jet parked on the tarmac. When you look closer, you get to see this is none other than a Boeing 747. The first question that will come to your mind will be, what is a jet this massive doing in a place like this? And when looked closely, you will also see a few other jets standing with the Boeing 747. What's common here is that all the jets share a common logo on its tail. This logo instantly brings the Olympic Games to mind. This isn't just a graveyard of airplanes. This is the story of Olympic Airlines. If stories like this fascinate you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We dive deep into more in-depth aviation stories that are almost lost to time. So let's continue with the story. For decades, that logo was a symbol of pride. Olympic Airlines was Greece's flag bearer in the sky, connecting a nation of islands to the world beyond the horizon. From short hops across the Aegean to long-haul routes stretching across continents, Olympic aircraft at that time were everywhere. From the very beginning, this airline was different. It wasn't just built to move passengers, it was built to project Greece onto the global stage. For this, their logo was similar to that of Olympic Games. Olympic Airways was contrast to Olympic U's 6 rings. Each one represented something distinctly Greek. The 5 Olympic rings symbolized the continents, while the 6th ring was added to represent Greece itself, the birthplace of the Olympic ideal. The branding was so strong that even decades later, abandoned aircraft sitting in forgotten airports are instantly recognizable the moment you see those rings on the tail. For Olympic Airways, the jumbo jet was more than just another aircraft. Olympic Airways introduced the Boeing 747 in the early 1970s, with its first 747 entering service in 1973. This marked a turning point for the airline. Operating the jumbo jet placed Olympic among a small group of global carriers capable of flying true long-haul, high-capacity routes. These aircraft were primarily used on high-density international routes, especially between Greece and major destinations in Europe and North America. For Olympic, the 747 represented peak ambition for the airline at its largest, most confident moment. As for flying hours, each Boeing 747 accumulated its own history. Over decades of service, a passenger 747 typically logs between 60,000 and 100,000 flight hours during its operational life. Olympic's 747 spent years flying long-haul sectors, meaning fewer cycles but many hours per flight, often 8 to 12 hours at a time. Long before the aircraft were abandoned, the airline itself was already struggling to stay airborne. After its early success, Olympic Airways gradually became entangled in heavy state control. Political influence shaped management decisions, staffing levels, and route planning, often prioritizing national interests over commercial reality. The result was an airline that was expected to serve the country, but operate without the flexibility needed to survive in a competitive market. Because of this, costs continued to rise, fuel prices were climbing, and operating wide-body aircraft like the Boeing 747 became increasingly expensive. At the same time, Olympic, burdened by debt and outdated operations, struggled to keep up. By the 1990s and early 2000s, Olympic Airways was surviving on government subsidies, drawing increasing scrutiny from the European Union, which began to challenge whether that support was legal under competition rules. Each attempted rescue plan only postponed the inevitable. The airline was still flying, but it was no longer sustainable. And when the final collapse came, it didn't come as a shock. In this story, aircraft didn't age in the air alone. By the time Olympic's jumbo jets had built up those thousands of hours, the world around them was changing. Athens was expanding, aviation standards were tightening, and the airport that had once launched these giants into the sky was struggling to keep up. By the turn of the century, Ellinikon International Airport had outgrown its surroundings. Built in the 1930s and expanded in stages after World War II, Ellinikon was never designed to handle the scale of modern jet aviation. As aircraft grew larger and passenger numbers surged, the airport found itself boxed in by the city of Athens, the coastline, and major roadways. There was no room left to expand runways, add new terminals, or meet increasingly strict international safety standards. Delays became common, and noise restrictions intensified. Operating wide-body aircraft, like the Boeing 747, became more difficult with every passing year. At the same time, Greece was preparing to host the 2004 Olympic Games, a global event that would bring millions of visitors and place the country under intense international scrutiny. A modern aviation gateway was no longer optional. It was essential. So in March 2001, Greece opened Eleftherios Venizelos International Airport, a purpose-built facility located east of Athens. It featured longer runways, modern terminals, improved air traffic control, and the capacity to handle the next generation of aircraft and passenger growth. Once the new airport opened, Ellinikon had no role left to play. Commercial flights were transferred almost immediately. Airlines relocated their operations. And within days, an airport that had served Athens for more than 6 decades went silent. Ellinikon wasn't slowly phased out. It was simply replaced. And that sudden closure is exactly why aircraft, including Olympic Airways jets, were left behind, frozen in time, as aviation moved on without them. And this is how the story comes full circle. When Olympic Airways finally collapsed in 2009, the airline didn't just lose its routes and passengers, it lost its ability to decide the fate of its own aircraft. Ownership disputes, unpaid debts, and legal battles froze everything in place. Moving a Boeing 747 cost millions. Scrapping it properly costs even more. And preserving it as a museum piece requires money, planning, and political will, none of which existed anymore. So the aircraft stayed. Parked at Ellinikon, engine sealed, cabin stripped, paint slowly fading under the Greek sun. The same airport that once launched these jets across oceans became their final destination. Not because anyone chose it, but because no one could decide what to do next. Today, plans exist to redevelop the Ellinikon site into parks, housing, and commercial space. When that transformation is complete, the remaining aircraft will almost certainly disappear, dismantled, removed, or scrapped entirely. The Boeing 747 will not fly again. It will not be restored. Its final journey will be unannounced and unnoticed by most of the world. So that's the story for today. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you on the next flight.